Hi, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and I have a plugin for you today. And this is what you might call a sort of basic building block plugin. I can't so easily do, hi, you can do this, because this is not some kind of wild reverb or stereo effect or something. This plugin is called Shape. And what it is doing, well, let me show you. Here we have a sine wave. Airwindows Shape is for altering what that sine wave is doing. As you can see, I've got a shape of 1 to 0, 0.5 is in the middle, negative and positive is here as well. And if both of these are in the middle, nothing's going to happen. I can demonstrate this. Nothing happened. But if we do a positive in the shape, it looks a little bit like nothing happened, except it got a little bit taller. Now let's start using things about shape that you will definitely hear, and I'll show you what this is for. I can also do negative shape. You should see that a little more. See how it flattened it off? Minus means saturate into the shape. Plus means expand outwards the shape. This is working on a sine wave. So minus is actually your clipping effect there. But where this really comes into its own is when you start doing, and I'll let you hear it, when you start doing negative positive. You can hear we're clipping that, right? What do we have there? With shape of 0, so it's clipping, it's making stuff less, and positive. Oh, look, it saturated off all of the positive side of the wave. But what else could we do? We were hearing that distortion quite obviously, right? So if we only do it a little bit, you'll see that we're now rounding off the positive side of the wave and kind of expanding out the other side. Now we'll repeat that. We're expanding out the other side. We're reshaping the wave in this asymmetrical way. This is going to produce second and fourth and so on harmonics, so this might prove useful with other things as well. We're demonstrating it on the sine wave, so it's really obvious what's going on. Back to center. Now, what happens if we have a plus shape but we're boosting into the positive with the asymmetry? Oh, look at that. That's interesting. We've got a real spike being added to that. It is reshaping the sine wave to the positive, so the negative side is not having any effect, but the positive side is getting boosted out. So if you have transient spikes that are clipped somehow, this might be a way of exploring how to put them back. It's somewhat level sensitive. And I will demonstrate that by having shape be cranked up all the way. Also, if we do negative, it does a really weird thing. So what we're going to do is experiment around a lot with it, because the way this works, I might have confused it a little bit by something. Like if we do a negative push, we are able to actually boost the negative swing of the wave. I just pushed it too far is all. So what we could do is listen to what's happening. Again, shape of above 0.5 is boosting, and it's making stuff pointier rather than boosting and then saturating. This is where it all cut off. So if we use the negative just to where it's buzzing a little bit, now we've got that expanding the transient, which is actually just the top part of the wave, up into a point. And lastly, just for fun, let's put this to as close to exactly 0.5 as I can get it. And we didn't see much there, but I have a shortcut for this. Look at that. We've just turned a sine wave into a weird sort of triangle wave with shape alone. That's just several instances of it. And the way that works is it will only do so much in one stage, but it just kind of I layered it on until we had the sine wave being reshaped, and it just added more spikiness to it. That's a lot of undoing. How about reverting to saved? And there's our sine wave again. So I'll repeat that. What we can do with this is that was applying the full boost of it. If I apply the full cut, we're going to get just a straight up clipping. You don't really see that because it's pretty smooth if you don't have it off balance and using the offset to do it more on one side rather than the other. But if I keep repeating it, we will continue to get this softening effect because I'm using the shape to reshape the sound in a sort of clippy, saturaty way. And that is giving us this rounded corners square wave kind of thing. And it's cutting down the level quite a lot because this is not a boost, this is a reshape. Now if I switch this over a little bit, and I'll do the same thing of repeatedly engaging the effect, but this time instead of doing it like that, let us offset it just a bit. Then if I keep on applying this, it's taking one of the ends off more. And we'll revert to saved again. And if we do a very striking, like negative or positive, we're doing all of the effect on the positive swing of the wave, the up rather than down, and do only very slight reshaping. We're getting an interesting effect where we're kicking it in because, again, that was cranked out as far as it would go, so we're having the most extreme effect on the top part of the wave. We can, in fact, flatten it out almost completely. If we had it in plus, we'd be boosting that a large amount. Back to that. Instead of doing the most offset we can possibly do, let's just only do a certain amount and flatten it a certain amount. It's about 75, 25. We probably don't hear this. No, we do hear this, because we can push it to where we're getting a flat topping. We'll pull it back until it isn't that obvious. And now we've got a extra rounding only on one side of the waveform. That's because we have the offset engaged. And then if we continue it, we'll see we're continuing to distort that part in a pretty smooth fashion, but not so much the other part. And that's a very strong second harmonic effect. By the same token, if we start with the same waveform there, and then instead of compressing it, let's start sort of subtly expanding the positive swing. We don't hear a massive distortion on this, because you'll hear when it kicks into the really nonlinear stuff. But all the same, if we continue to repeat it, we can quickly get to where we've got a really tall peak on that. And then, of course, if we go one stage beyond, we're clipping off the top of the waveform. But one thing we could do is take that, cut the gain, continue to do it, and again, an amplification of minus 6.08 is about the same as my bit shift gain. And Command F here is reapplying the setting that I had on shape. Oh, one too many. And we will use Amplify to cut it down another 6 dB again, and continue, one too many again, applying it and cutting back the level. And now we have this started out as a sine wave. Now it's anything but. So you might use this in synthesis, you might use this in sound design or fixing up things. Here I have a track that I've been fooling around with. I might try to put this out as a song of some kind. And if I chose to apply shape to this, I can do stuff with it. A little spikier, more saturated, or spiky only on one side or the other. And using that, I can dial in various things about it. You'll notice that the sound of things like the kick drum, when I'm using shape to add point onto things, this is the opposite of saturation. Negative and positive give me different sounds. Like this, not sounding the same as this. And you can hear fairly quickly when it's going beyond and getting too much. So there you have it. Airwindows Shape is a wave shaping plugin, and the way you use it, I'll open it back up again. the way you use it is, rather than going beyond 50% means the distortion and boost, it is anti-distortion, much like I use in console. And it is adding extra point onto waveforms. It is doing a wave shaping where you get more of a spike on the tip of things. Negative positive is choosing how much weight you put on either side of that. For instance, if you have a positive shape, that will tell you how much of this reshaping, boosting, pointizing is happening on the positive side of the waveform versus the negative side of the waveform. And again, if you have shape lower than 0.5, you're saturating. You're distorting, as is very familiar, but it is cutting off rather than just boosting into distortion. So you're reshaping that as well. And if you had some kind of waveform like, a bass or something, where you've decided that one side of it is swinging out too far and you'd like to cut that back, or maybe, a kick drum where a side of the swing is going too far and you'd like to just address only that one bit of it, you could take shape and have it be less than 0.5 and assign this negative positive slider to whichever side you want to control. Or if one side of the attack of your sound is not swinging as far as you would want it to swing, you use shape and add beyond 0.5 and then pick which of the negative or positive you want to accentuate more. You're probably not going to want to go to full crank on things because it is set up to where you can destroy the sound pretty severely by cranking it out in that way, which is fine. So if you want to do that, no judge. But shape is mostly about doing these very transparent adjustments to the overall shape of the waveform, and whether it's predominating on the positive or negative swing of the waveform. And hopefully once you get the way that actually works, it's pretty straightforward. Shape is a audio unit, both retro and modern, and VST 2.4, both retro. I guess they're all retro now, but it's both retro and signed Macintosh M1 capable. And it's also Windows in 32 and 64-bit. The 32 is in the retro folder. And it is also Linux VST, and also runs on the newer Raspberry Pis in Linux. And I'm providing all of those. Any further things that I provide will come when I have them together. There is some progress on a way of doing the new format clap. And when I have the time and the bandwidth and the spoons to follow up on that, you will get an official copy of a clap plugin that will run any of the Airwindows plugins. Somebody's figured out a neat way to do that, and I'm inclined to run along with that one. I basically need to compile it myself so that I can update it each time I put out a new plugin, and it will automatically include whatever I've just added. So, there's that. All of this stuff is supported by Patreon. That's why I'm still here doing this stuff. It's also why I was able to travel to Canada to help a significant other that I met in the last year, but that's a whole other story. And that's not really what you're especially interested in, most likely. I mean, if you are, that's very cool. But bottom line is Patreon is how I get paid to do this work. What I am looking to do going forward is, you heard a bit of music that I just made. I'm going to be putting my music out on Bandcamp, and it's part of a choice that I made fairly recently, trying to figure out whether I was going to try to make for sale sample packs and stuff, and just only charge for only do open source plugins. And I've decided that that is not really my jam. I would like to give all of the tools I use away to anybody who's interested or thinks that some of the things that I make sound cool. And that means I've decided I'm going to be checking with Unfa and his community because they really know about this stuff. I'm going to be doing Creative Commons for sample packs. And everything that I have done going forwards is going to have whatever Creative Commons the Unfa open source hounds seem to like. And new stuff going forward, which will similarly be Airwindowsized. Like, if I have sets of sample packs, they're probably designed to work a certain way. And I will be having sample packs. You'll be seeing them perhaps very soon. I seem to generate lots of that stuff as I keep trying to do new kinds of music and experiment with new things. That's just kind of how I roll. But you know how I end up sitting on one track for about 12 plugin videos? I do sometimes get to move forwards and actually produce music. I posted some of it to the YouTube channel. And when I've got a actual track that's finished, possibly including like these singles and things that I've been doing, I'm going to put it up on Bandcamp, and it'll cost you like $1 for the full resolution download. And the tools that I use are the things that are given away for free. So if you wanted to support me and my work in Airwindows, when I get that rolling, you could go and buy the actual music that I make if you like it. I kind of, you don't necessarily like it. Some people don't. That's just how I roll. Anywho, I am running my mouth about stuff that I'm planning, the many things that I have in mind. I am very excited about a new thing. I tweeted about this. This is how I made some of my wild live streaming kinds of things. It's a thing called the Sleepy Circuits Hypno. And I like doing visuals using that, but I've hit upon a neat little technique for upscaling the output of that in a way that is very akin to the aesthetic of how my sound goes. So, and all of these things, including this box, because I just have to plug it into the laptop, I can bring with me when I travel to Canada, and I'll be able to do some of that stuff on the road. All very interesting. I mean, wish me luck. This is a lot. There's a lot going on. But I'm trying to continue to produce plugins and stuff anyway, as I've been doing. I still have more amp sims coming along. And I've got a little private project that somebody who I like a lot. This is a fellow who has engineered some of my favorite vinyl record albums and was asking for a plugin. I don't know whether he is willing to come forwards and admit that that's him asking for it, but there's somebody who's a pretty big deal who's asking for a particular variation on some plugins that I've got, and I'm inclined to let him have it. So I'm going to be working on Secret Project X. And Secret Project X you might also find that it is a very helpful thing for you. We'll see. Anywho, thank you for the attention. I will keep trying to come up with new stuff that I can give you. And I hope you're doing okay. I'm doing reasonably okay. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.